Or you can sip the coffee all you want. So we're going to get you guys up here. Kind of piling around me. I'll get out of the way. You guys get in here. Just introduce your name. Company, where you're from. It's hard to do. Let me walk away. Don't stay right down the road. Yeah. Yeah, we'll just after you get from here. That's next day. We got to change. We're out of room. We're all new acting stuff. Yeah, I'm still with that. It's different. That. I'll pull it up today.
And now, Detailing Success and PNS Double Black present the Renny Doyle Podcast, a podcast for blue-collar entrepreneurs. Hosted by the detailer of Air Force One and founder of both Detailing Success and the Detail Mafia, Renny Doyle. And now, here's Renny.
Good morning, everybody. What's up?
What's up?
Hello.
Oh, we can't hear you too good. Let's bring that speaker over here. Barry, what's up, buddy?
What's up, buddy? How you been?
I'm doing good, man. I'm doing good. This is exciting. Finally.
Yes, man.
We got you on. So, hey, we got some business to take care of, so hold on tight. What are you looking up at, man? You look like Stevie Wonder, dude.
Now, I got a couple monitors, so I always like I gotta raise my camera up. You know what I mean?
I thought you were going to start saying "We Are the World" or something like that, man.
No. What it is my head's so big, so I need monitors to see them all. You know what I mean? So
gotcha.
I'm actually like growing as like an entrepreneur. I think if not, I look like I am.
Yeah,
you know
there you go.
That's it. I'm trying to play the role.
So we've got a 5-day training going right now, and
nice.
So before we go any further, there's one or two people but we're going to have them come up right up here and say hi to everybody, and then we're going to jump in, take care of some business, and then we're going to talk shop, man. So hold on 2 seconds, you guys. Come on up here and just say hi. Introduce yourself real quick.
How you doing? Ray Kraszewski, Ray's Mobile Detailing, Northern New Jersey.
All right.
Ray. Jeff Catron, Yontalk Detailing, Winchester, Virginia. And that
another Eastern.
Yes. Yep. Don't be shy, guys.
Oh, too tall. Nathan Warren, Frontline Sign, Indianapolis and Florida.
I've never seen him before.
Hey, your lens broke there, buddy.
What is it? What was it? What did he say?
I don't know. He said, never mind. We can't say it on here. I'll tell you later.
Okay.
Gina Sandwich, Dirty Harry's Detailing, New Jersey.
Right on, man.
Right.
Tony Mazzell, T-Line Auto Detail, Tehachapi, California.
He's one of our interns this month, so he's the junior intern. Harry's the senior intern.
Harry Sandwich, 30 Harry's Detailing, Florida and New Jersey.
All right.
So Harry went out and had a surgery that normal people just have one, and he had two. So just kind of in Harry style. So Oscar, get up here. Oscar's in the house.
Hey, what's going on, Barry? Oscar, 805 Detail Shop.
Hey, Oscar.
What's going on, brother? Nice to see you.
All right, so here we go. So hey, 5 Dave going on. We're gonna talk business life. What's going on with Barry? What I've seen. I'm gonna give a little introduction. We got a lot going on. This next 2 weeks is crazy around here. We'll be down at Justin Labato's coming into town tomorrow, right? He'll be here tomorrow. So we're gonna do a joint event down at Uber Detail with Uni and Carlos down in Corona, California on Saturday. And then we head back. We're going to the back to Chicago Auto Pros on Wednesday.
Yeah,
And-
the creators event.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. We can't wait for that. We've got coffee coatings and profits coming up all over California, from Southern California, Northern California, in the next 30, 35, 40 days. So it's a busy time. Right now, let's concentrate on this dude that's here with us, man. So let me give a little introduction to Barry. I like to say something kind of personal before he introduces himself. I watched this kid come up through, right, as a detailer, and we had just started. We just done the Air Force One project, and this company, Presidential Detail, pops up. The internet was starting to get pretty solid, and so I started kind of following. We didn't have Facebook wasn't around and stuff like that quite yet, but just started following him, started seeing him at some events, and found out he served. He was in the Army, and just started admiring him. So flash forward, as both of us kind of we share a lot in common, a tremendous amount. He loves his country, loves people, loves small business, and then we faith-based, loves history. I'll let him go into what he wants to go into there, but he gets me into a facility that not many people get to see. When I was in Philadelphia, blew me away, man. We just, it was unreal, because I'm a history. I was working on my master's at that time. I finished it right after that, and it played a huge part of finishing up my master's degree. This guy, though, is a lot of people. He follows his feet. A lot of people follow their mouth, and you can't go anywhere just with your mouth alone. You got to follow your feet. And this young man, as he's coming up, he started one brand of company, sold that. We'll let him go into his current brand of company and what he's doing there. But he started out just like a lot of us did, just like I did, as pushing a polisher, guys and gals. And so I hope that he's able to take and really influence and kind of share his journey, what some of the struggles were, what of the triumphs were, and we'll jump into that. So Barry, introduce yourself.
Hi, everybody. Barry Theal. I'm one of the owners of SB3 Coatings, and I'm actually with the IDA as well. I'm an RIT, CDSV with the RIT, and that's it, man. I'm just a normal, everyday guy like everybody else,
Dad, your dad, husband, all that good stuff. How many kids?
Yep. And today is actually my son's 16th birthday.
Oh, man.
So happy birthday to my son, Jake. It's an accomplishment for me to be able to see my son grow up. I think I never thought I'd live to see 40, but to see my son grow up and be here where I'm at today, man, I can't complain. At all. Life is all right.
Awesome. That's awesome. Well, good news is it just gets better.
I hope so.
Yeah.
Plus, you managed to keep him alive for 16 years, so that's pretty good.
I did.
Well, let me tell you,
that's my wife's doing.
Having kids about a decade in front of you, you're still they don't go away like you thought you did. They hang around for a little bit, which we like, but our oldest ones they got to figure it out now. So let's go all the way back now. Before we jump into this, you recently were awarded something down at Mobile Tech. Tell us about. It was pretty cool. I watched the response. So tell us what happened down at Mobile Tech this year.
It was pretty unreal, man. I got the Outstanding Achievement Award at Mobile Tech this year. And I was actually, in all seriousness, I was pretty tired from Mobile Tech, and I wasn't even going to attend the event. But I was there because Karim Khan got an award, who was also a fellow Mason. So I was there to, support him, and I gave him a tie from our Grandmaster. It's like a Masonic thing, we always try to give a pin or something. And they called him up, and he was all excited, and I was like, I was happy for him, genuinely happy. And then they called my name out of the blue, and it was a lot to hold the tears in. I was so excited. I didn't want to show him too much, but I think I did a little bit. But yeah, it was a blessing, man. It was awesome. I felt like everything I've been doing paid off that night, if that makes sense. Because it's not a monetary thing with me. For me, it's just like you always preach, Renny, let's make an impact on the industry and make it better. How can we do that? And about 3 years ago, I really started to mature, I think, in that aspect and look at the industry as a whole and say, what can I do for it? And I found a purpose, and I've been driven by that purpose. For me, that purpose today is just to help other detailers not go through what we had to go through to get where we're at today. If
Absolutely.
that makes sense. Make their lives a little bit easier. So that's what I've been focusing on these last couple of years.
And I think you'll find out through your journey is not everybody will listen. They're going to do it on their own way. They're going to try to reinvent. But the 5%ers, they've got an ear and they're listening.
Yeah.
And, we're seeing those people just propel themselves to new heights sooner than we did. I won't say easier because you got to work. The shit's hard, Yeah.
You still got to put the time and the effort in and work for it. But with proper guidance, a lot of people are a lot more successful than we were.
I sold my first detailing business when I was 19 because I said, you know what, man, I killed it in this thing. I'll be a multimillionaire by the time I'm 25. A little harder than that, a little harder than that. Just didn't happen overnight. And so, so you let's go all the way back. How'd you get your start in? No, let's go back further than that. Come out of high school, you go into the military. What pushed you? What was the motivation there?
I'm not gonna lie, man. I was a golfer in high school. I detailed cars and I worked at a roller skating rink. Obviously, people know that. I grew up. My parents didn't have the money for college, and I wasn't ready for college. My mind mentally wasn't there. I struggled with reading, and I just thought college isn't for me. So I woke up one morning, walked down to the recruiting station, talked to a couple people. Fortunately enough, I was able to pass the ASVAB, so I didn't have to go to the Marine Corps,
There's three Marines by me. Don't say that too loud because they just gave me a dirty look, man.
Yeah.
Hey, he's never coming back on the program again. I'm just saying.
But in all seriousness, man, I love all the branches and I do like to throw jokes, but in all seriousness, I wanted to be a linguist in the Army, which basically as a linguist, you learn a couple languages and then you go work somewhere intel. Sadly, it was like an 8-year commitment and I didn't want to commit to 8 years. So I ended up going infantry with a big sign-on bonus and, I got permanent duty station, ended up at Fort Drum, Watertown, New York. It was 11
Cool.
Bravo. It was pretty cool.
Right on. So looking back, you go through boot. What did the military do for you? How has it helped you move ahead in life, your relationship, being a dad, and in business? What did the military do?
Discipline. It teaches you discipline. For me, it did. A lot of discipline. Even to this day, I struggle with discipline. But there was a writing on the wall that I'll never forget when I was going through boot camp. It said, discipline must be a habit so ingrained that it has to be stronger than the fear of battle or death itself. And I'll never, ever forget that. You know what I mean? It just, to me, in my mind, it stuck with me saying, no matter what you do, don't give up. Stay disciplined. Always put a foot forward and just keep driving and pushing. And I'm not a smart man, so I have to work hard to get to some of the things that I'm at. You know what I mean? My brain works differently than others with my dyslexia and things like that. So I have some advantages and some weaknesses. What I do is I focus on my advantages and the good things, and I just let my weaknesses go. I don't care about them. Focus on the positive, let the negative out, and life is all right. I can't, you know what I'm saying?
So are
It's
you?
not bad.
So are you alphabetically and numerically dyslexic?
Yes, I'm dyslexic every which way possible you could think of, from words to letters to numbers. It's a nightmare. But when somebody types and they're a horrible typer, I can read it.
Me too.
So I do
Me
have
too.
some advantages, you know.
So and when you didn't, I really didn't start opening up this because I was diagnosed special ed kid, ADD. They didn't know that for a couple years because our school district wasn't a real wealthy school district, so they tagged me with a lot of different names, and then figured out it was ADD. But then it wasn't later into high school that I figured out I was dyslexic on top of it. But I'm very fortunate because I'm not numerically dyslexic. Alphabetically dyslexic.
It's bad with me, man. I
So
look at things and they go every which way.
Oh yeah, and it's funny because I can the word puzzles and stuff like that, man. I can see stuff. It's not hard for me, to see a word
those
puzzle.
things
and
are
everything.
those
But
are easy.
numbers. I'm straight up on that. So so a little bit of a challenge. How old were you when you found out you're dyslexic?
Let's see. I was in 9th grade, so I would have been about 14 or 15.
How challenging was that? Did it bother you?
Yeah, it did, man, because I felt like I was a pretty popular kid in school. I was on the athletics teams with a lot of stuff, had a lot of great friends that were athletic. I had a good life, but deep down I knew something was wrong, but I was too embarrassed to say, hey, something's wrong with me.
Right.
I don't understand this. And I couldn't figure out why I had to work twice as hard as the next person every time a book was put in front of me. You know what I
Right.
mean?
Right.
Then luckily I had a teacher in 9th grade. Her name was Mrs. Slosher. I finally talked to her about a year and a half ago for the first time since high school. I seen her husband on Facebook, messaged him. I called her and I just wanted to thank her because this lady changed my life. So we talked for almost 2 hours on the phone. Her and her husband, great people. One day, I'm going to support one of their events this year. They do something with horses and veterans, and so now I'm able to give back to her 40 years later at the end of this year for their thing. You know what I mean? So this lady changed my life, and she don't know it, but I'm going to change the way they look at donations at the end of this year.
That
it's the least I could do.
That is so cool. So let me ask you this. So I've got Diane, my wife's taught me this saying, and I think it's cool because each one of us, we all have our battles and challenges in life. Some are a lot deeper. And she said this one day, and I said, "Hold on, what did you say?" And she goes, "I don't know." And we went back over it. It's one of those accidental statements that has stuck with us. Is that you can be you can be a victim or victorious.
Yes.
And so when you have
huge.
Right. And so how did you get through? How did you? I've talked to being having that same, and it's funny. Okay. So I'm going to say I didn't talk about dyslexia in my life until real recently. And and here's why is even being in my 50s, successful, all this shit is I already had one thing against me with ADD that's onset to ADHD as an adult. It's I almost didn't want to admit to myself that there's something else hanging in there. That I had another issue. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, I get it, man. I do. And I think it's tough for a male in general to share what's wrong with them, because growing up, you're a couple years ahead of me. I think Chris might be a couple years below me in age, but that age gap where we were raised, I don't know about you, Renny, but my parents were pretty hardcore. I never argue with my mom because my mom would beat the crap out of me if I did. And my dad, the moment he would say, "Barry, I knew, just stop." You know what I mean? So we were raised I was anyway, to be this male figure, basically, the typical male. And for somebody like that to say, "Hey, I'm weak at something," that's hard to do. But I think it takes a man. I think it takes a man to say, "Hey, I do have weaknesses.
Right.
I do have my struggles," because I do. I struggle with things just like everybody else. You know what I mean? People see the good that we bring, but they don't see or know the bad that we have as well.
No.
You know what I mean? And
Right.
for me, I always focus on the good. You know, the negative stuff I just throw out the window. I have to. Because if I dwell on something negative, I'm not focusing on something positive. And then
Boy.
my mind goes into spirals. So I'd
Amen.
rather just stay positive, man. That's it. It works for me.
So I didn't have a dad.
Okay.
This on the screen for those that are watching live or on YouTube. This was my Italian grandma. 5'9".
Yep.
Terror. Most men were scared of her. She was a solid woman. And when I got, first thing they told me is and she was in the room when they did it, is they told me I was retarded. Straight out, they told her, "Woo, oh man," she started screaming stuff in Italian. She got in this lady's face. It was the assistant principal, Mrs. Molina. I'll always remember her for not good reasons because she always treated me like shit. This kid put me down. She did. She put all the kids that had challenges. She didn't build us up. Mrs. Johnson, I've got a teacher in my life. Mrs. Johnson's the one that changed it. But you're right. And she's the one that told me my whole life through, you're not broken. There's nothing broken about you. You've just got a different set of challenges. You've got it. Now, and a lot of people, anybody, we all have challenges. You're short, you're too tall, you're fat, you're too skinny, whatever, man. In this society, something's wrong with everybody. It seems. No, you're not. You are who you are.
Yeah.
And when you accept yourself, and I think you've done a good job of that, of accepting yourself. And we went to an event and we met. You brought somebody in, a company that I was like, what is a Yorable? I walk out in this parking lot and there's a Audi R8 with Yorable all over it. And I was like, what the hell is a Yorable? It's
who are those guys?
Yeah.
What is it?
Yeah. I met Michael and Chris, and you're able. And we were at a dyslexic event. And so, it was, I want to tell you, and I've never told you this before, that was the first time publicly that I'd ever told anybody I was dyslexic.
Yeah.
It brought me out of that. It brought me out of that because we were trying to help people,
That was a great event too, man. I'll never forget your face, dude, as we were walking through the Grand Lodge and we're up into those catacombs. And the first words were, nobody take pictures.
Don't wrap me up. Don't wrap me up.
You're in catacombs where very few men have walked. And those who have walked them are guys like Benjamin Franklin, to give you an idea.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And no photos. No. As soon as we get in there's Renny. Camera.
I'll sneak a couple of them, man. Come on, man.
Don't publish this anyway.
No, I didn't. I've never put it up. But I had to get a picture of some shit that Ben Franklin's one of my heroes, because you talk about a brilliant, flawed individual. He was brilliantly flawed. If you read his history, he was awesome. So we're sitting there in a place where Ben Franklin had freaking been in touch shit, and he's telling me don't take a picture. I was like, yeah, right. That ain't gonna happen, That ain't gonna happen. I've never put it up. I've only showed friends. I'll show you guys at some point. But it was life changing. So and so a lot of people, you're giving through the lodge. You gave to us that weekend. You've matured through times. Is that I remember and here's the thing: is I think I don't apologize for being a man anymore. Is that I went through a time where and I told you we've had this conversation where both of us are a little pushy, not as bad as this guy over here. There's a guy over here that he tames me down, I learned from him though, because he doesn't take shit. Harry, I'm pointing at Harry. Harry's just, I mean, when it said in the dictionary, it says manly, there's a picture of Harry. When it says manly with the mouth, there's a really big picture of Harry, because he says what he feels. And, he's had to bring me back full circle. You can be politically correct, but you also got to be yourself. And I think you've done a better and better job of balancing that. And so how is that? Okay. So in a world, I'm going to ask you this. I'm not going to ask him that because I know what he's going to say. And it's going to be a 4-letter word with a U behind it, because he just doesn't give a shit. Right. but you're a little more in the spotlight.
Yeah.
How is it? You've had to tone yourself down a little bit just to be a little more 360. How's that paid off? How big of a challenge was that?
It was tough, man, because like everybody knows, and I can't hide the fact that I would say 10 years ago, I was pretty egotistical, a little bit, maybe a lot, but
Okay.
I was good at it. It just keeps going. Stop. And when I joined masonry, I think 10 years ago, it'll be 10 years in September, I joined masonry. Well, when I got my first degree. I think that was a really huge turning point in my life when I joined masonry, because here I was, a guy who thought he had everything. I thought I had life figured out. I thought I knew what I was doing. And I joined masonry, and it opened my eyes to a whole new world. Like, people think it's some secret society and this and that, but really it's just about being a better person, being a better man, being a better father, giving back to your community. That's what masonry is. And I always had good intentions, but I never really followed through with them. And when the things that I learned in Freemasonry help me live a daily life now. It may not work for you, but it works for me. You know what I'm saying? And ideally, it should work for everybody. So when I got into masonry, one of the biggest things they teach is to give back. Like, if you have knowledge and you're not sharing it, it's wasted knowledge, even if you're using it. So why not share that knowledge? And I take that same approach to life, business, and whatever. Just like everybody else, I make mistakes, but in general, I feel if you do the next right thing and stay positive with it, and if you can be tolerant, that's one of the words that I work on daily, is tolerance. I struggle with tolerance. I get a little impatient sometimes, and I want to push harder, but yet not everybody wants to push that hard, so I got to be patient. But for me, it's a well-balanced life of moderation. That's it. If I can keep my life in moderation, nothing bad should really happen. Occasionally something good might happen, but in moderation, I feel that I'm happy. So when you look at our logo, you have the square and the compass and the letter G. Okay. They mean something to us. The square teaches us to square our actions by the square of virtue. The compass teaches us to circumscribe our desires and keep them within due bounds. So in other words, if I'm one point on that compass and you open that compass up and the other point goes out here 10 feet in front of me, and I take that compass and I draw a circle around myself, now I have 10 feet of moderation in all angles, front, back, left, right, rear. Never go out of that 10 feet and life will be okay. So, and sometimes I push the boundaries a little bit, but that's where the square and compass are. That's what they represent to us in Freemasonry. So we take these ancient working tools of operative masons who were building King Solomon's temple, and today here we are years later using them same working tools, but we found a way to develop these tools for life, and to bring them within us. You know what I'm saying? Like in masonry back then, they used a 24-inch gauge. Okay. That 24-inch gauge, what we were taught was to divide life into 3 equal parts during your day. There's 24 hours in a day. So the first 8 hours of your life should go to work, or 8 hours of it during the day. 8 hours goes to work. 8 hours goes to rest. 8 hours goes to family and God. You see what I'm getting at? And that's where we learned with the 24-inch gauge. And if you look back then, everything was 2-inch block. You know what I'm saying? So with masonry, it's a development of yourself to be a better person. But what's unique about it is we get to share those developments with everybody in our lives. And that's, to me, I think that was the changing point in my life, because masonry ain't about who you are, where you came from. It's about what are you going to do with yourself today and how are we going to act tomorrow.
Amen.
Simple.
Amen.
And eventually those steps, you just keep building and building and building, and one day you're at the top of this mountain and you're like, wow, how did this really happen to me? You know what I mean? It's because I took one good step forward every day. The the old Barry, if you would have like this, imagine 100-foot wall, and you had a ladder going up. One side had steps every 10 feet going up this ladder. The other side had steps every 3 feet. Okay. Sure. If you're tall enough and strong enough and powerful enough, you could jump from step to step on that 10-foot ladder. By the time you get to the top, you're going to be tired, but you might get there a little faster because you only got 10 steps. Me, I would rather take a 3-foot step each time, slowly get there, because now the base that I built is a solid foundation, and I can walk right back down. The guy going up the 10-foot ladder can't walk back down. He might get there faster, but I'm going to be silent and quiet. And when I get to the top, you're going to know about it. You see what I'm saying? Because it was a journey. And that's how I look at life now. You know, I really do. I look at life one thing at a time. I'm not concerned about 5 years from now. I'm not concerned from 10 years from now, because hell, are we even going to be here? You know what I'm saying? We're getting
I heard somebody use a great analogy, and I'm sorry I can't give credit to where it was, but they said, you know, you look at somebody that planned their life out really well and had everything going for them. Really, it was at the top of their game was Kobe Bryant.
Yeah,
and everything changed.
Yeah,
a couple turns of blades, and his journey ended. You know, we don't know when our journey's going to end, man. And you've got to, you know, I was telling these guys, I had a weird situation this last year where somebody very unexpectedly taught me for the first time in 56 years to live in the present. Is to enjoy the present. If I had one thing to say to any, I don't care what age you are, I don't care if you're 6 or 106, is God, you got to master living in the present. You got to master that.
Yeah. And it's not always easy.
No, it's not. No, it's not. But, you know, so hey, take me back. Go to the back, all the way back. So you get out of the military. Why detailing?
Detailing was a peace of mind. I did it in high school. I was going to take a year off out of the military because, again, the college thing came up. Now I'm out of the military. Do I go back to college? The reality of it is I wasn't going back to college. I wasn't even going to college. It was off the radar. So I had a year off to figure out what I wanted to do. I worked a couple odd-end jobs and still stuck with detailing from high school. Went back to my former employer in high school when I was working, and I fell in love with it. When I got out of the military, I had my hurdles with my alcoholism. I drank it real heavy. It wasn't that I woke up, had shakes and needed to, but when I went out, Barry liked to have fun. You know, I thought it was normal to go get drunk, crash in a hotel, pass out in the parking lot. Like, you know, I thought those things were normal. I thought that's what, hey, we're 20s. That's what we do. No, normal people don't live like this. Barry, you have a problem. You have a DUI. And detailing, for me, never required reading a book. You know, I've read them now. I've read your book and a couple others, you know. Even though you haven't signed it yet, and I've only seen it probably 50 times since then. But, you know, for me, detailing was hands-on, and that's how I learned, you know. And I fell in love with the polisher. I fell in love with the movement of a rotary spinning, just cutting through clear. And when you think about the process that goes on from the time you hit that switch to the movement of your hand to the way the pad works, and then you apply heat, you apply pressure, you can develop some heat with the pad, you can work the paint. Like that all began to like work in my mind and think, I love this shit. Like I love it. And then we know what happens after that. You get good at it. You see the before and after. Then I started working for my own ego. You know what I'm saying? Because my own ego said, hey, this car got to be perfect. Every car has to be perfect. So I'm working for my own ego, and I'm realizing I'm not making money, you know, because I was feeding my ego, not finding a solution for a customer, and then creating that experience for the customer, and then helping them later. You know what I'm saying? And bringing them back. I didn't care about that. What I cared about was the next car and how I can make it look the best to feed my ego, you know, and I got really good at it. And it was an addiction within itself. You know, that whole process became an addiction to Barry. Like, I need a car. I need to work on. I need to whatever. It was a mental mind fuck, right? Pardon my language, but it was. You know, and today, you know, I try to teach guys, yeah, great. We need to learn everything. You need to understand and have the knowledge of what you're doing. But where I always backed off was the business side. I didn't care. I always had cars. Money was always coming in. I just didn't care. But then at one point I thought, man, I've got to build something here. And that's when people found out who I was with detailing on the internet. And here I am. Yeah, it's been a wild rodeo, man. I'm very fortunate, very blessed.
Well, these guys walk in, and when they walked in on Monday, the first thing I told them was, hey, man, the detailing side, the tool side, it's the easy side. I got you. Relax.
Yeah.
It's it's not easy. It's like any trade. My brothers, all three of my brothers are master electricians. It's easy for them now.
Yeah.
The hard part is being the entrepreneurial side, being the profitable side. And do you want to be a 50%er? Do you want to be a 25%er? Do you want to be a 10%, 5%, or a 1%er? I always aim for 1%. I want to be the top. And I don't care about is people, oh, my ego and stuff. Okay, confidence and ego are two different things. Yes. But my thing is, I had kids when I went back into this, my second time entering back into detailing 20 something years ago. I'd already sold I already sold my first business. I'm going to be a millionaire, and it just took a little longer to do that. But the business side of it is the sticky side. That's the side that you've got to really, and the sales side of it. Everybody talks about, I would much rather you give me a person. Okay. You give me Sally or give me Gina that's sitting right next to me. And Sally's this world-class detailer that can kick ass. And Gina is a world-class salesperson. My money's on Gina. Because if she can connect with people and sales, everybody thinks slimy. Man. No. I mean, everybody's a salesman. Everybody's a salesman. You're selling yourself constantly. And if you can get good, you can get really good. And then when you bring your personality into it and you give your caring and giving back, like you just illustrated, you're deadly. Yes. Competition's going to hate you. You're going to have a lot of haters, a lot of haters because you're doing things right. So now let's jump ahead. So now I'm watching this young kid come up, and I could sense a lot of things about you. I can see you starting to mature, and you start this chemical company, and he sold the chemical company, and then he started another one. Run us through that time.
So I was working with 3D for years, and sadly things didn't work out between me and the general manager at 3D. I still have a great relationship with everybody. It just didn't work. And again, I fell in love with the chemical side as well, because I knew the machines, I knew the pads, I knew the paint, but I didn't know the process of the chemicals. How are they made? What's in them? Things like that. And working with Tunch at 3D for years will change anybody, because first, Tunch is a great man. Tunch Gorn at 3D, absolutely phenomenal guy. But at the same time, Tunch is very open. And he had no problems if I would message him and say, Tunch, I got this new formula you have. What's in it? What's it supposed to do? And eventually you begin to learn. And, I had a chance to sit in the lab with Tunch and learn some things. And I fell in love with that side. And once you turn to that, how do you say it? I think like when you become a detailer and then you begin to work with companies a little bit, people tend to jump into it too fast. And I was one of those guys who did. But I already had all the experience that in the business, and my business was booming, so I was able to make some time. So when things didn't work out, I was upset that it didn't work out, and I thought I got to do something. So so I started with my partner Scott Ward now with SB3. We started a product company called Americana Car Care, which now everybody knows it as Americana Online or Americana Global. Yeah, we sold that to Ceramic Pro. To like one of the owners of Ceramic Pro and one of their guys, and today they're successful with it, and I'm so happy that they could take that brand and do with it what I always wanted to do at that time. I'm a little more patient with my business. I like to build a foundation and slowly build business versus just jumping and going at it hardcore right away. and trying to make the millions in the first year or two. So anyway, we sold that. We started SB3 Coatings, and somehow by the grace of God, here we are today, man. It's just been, I feel like every day I wake up and I get to help another detailer. And to me, that's what SB3 is all about. For me, it's a blessing. It really is. It helps me serve my purpose.
That's awesome. So, now you're at a whole different, the detailing, you worked your way up. Yeah. And this is really cool. I'm taking notes as you're doing this. And, I've had some great mentors, and we'll get into that here in a second. But when I'm hearing you and I'm watching you and I'm witnessing you and others, 7 sources. I was always taught 7 sources from a very young age. 7 sources of income, and you're going after that. And somebody, detail shop. God, how do I find that? It's right in front of you. You've got paint corrections, you've got coatings, you've got windshield repair, you got PPF, you've got. I mean, it's there. Yeah, you just gotta open up. We taught these guys something this weekend where when we used to evaluate a car, I'd go from the front of the car to the right, looking at the car, around the driver's side, around the back, all the way 360. That was my evaluation of the car, opening doors, looking what the car needed from the detailing standpoint. When I'd go back around left to right or going around it, that was the add-on evaluation.
Yep.
Is that I was looking at the windshield, the headlights, the trim. Do they need PPF? What else do they? What can I? It's McDonald's doesn't make shit off a cheeseburger. McDonald's makes a lot of money on the add-ons and going up size, and they extra large and go do a meal deal and all that shit. There's a reason why restaurants do that, and there's a reason why we should be doing that.
Oh yeah, I mean, when you look at McDonald's, I think they set a precedent of how many different ways can you sell a cheeseburger and still make money.
Right, man.
You know what I mean?
Amen. Yeah. Even though I don't like it.
A cheeseburger. You know what I mean?
Hey, so we've got some military personnel here. You guys were regular military, but we come out on guard weekends, right? When you come out of your AT, and especially when you're op 4 and you haven't had any kind of fast food, I'm going to tell you, man, I hate McDonald's. But when I've been in the field for a week or two and I haven't had shit to eat, McDonald's, I don't know what it is, but I want some. That's the first thing. It's not Chick-fil-A. It's McDonald's greasy ass shit that tastes good, and I want it. It is filet mignon when you come out and you haven't had anything to eat.
Then you got to learn how to eat an MRE properly.
No bullshit. No.
That's it. That's all it is.
Survival. That's survival. If I have to, that's why you and these guys were full timers, and I'm a weekend freaking chubby warrior. That's But I'll tell you, the MREs now is they come with this little saline pack of water, and you dump that into the heat box. It's done, dude. They made it so easy. The new ones, it's like what the hell? And so, God, we're going way off. See, you can't. ADD, dyslexic. We're gonna go away. We're gonna get the hell out of here. So hey,
there's a squirrel.
That's exactly it. So squirrel. So we've seen a lot of changes. Rattle down. You don't have to go into them. What are the 3 or 4, 5, 6 big changes in this industry that you've seen?
Oh man,
could be one.
Foam pads. I'll start there as my first one. Foam pads. I remember when they came out.
God,
that was a whole new world. I remember working wool and then wool again and then wool again and then coming back. Oh man, I just had a brain fart. But coming back with that big dual action polisher, the gem orbital.
Oh my God, yeah.
On a microfiber. And it's funny when you look at that because you had this big gem polisher and it was a DA movement and it had foam and a microfiber pad. Remember the Terry bonnets?
Oh yeah.
Now what do we have? Microfiber pads on a foam on a dual action, just re-engineered by, you know what I'm saying?
Unreal.
So that I think that was like the first big change for me was foam because we all know that wool runs cooler than foam on a rotary. And when you first get, like, when you're cutting with foam, and the foam that we had back then was not the greatest. I think that was the first one. Then the next big thing, I would have to say, goes to Aaron at Edge Pads. If you remember Aaron,
Yeah,
he's too cool for us now because he's got Scrub Daddy making billions of dollars.
right.
But you remember the click that 3M patent and bought out.
Oh, yeah.
That was a big deal.
Yeah.
I think, even though I'm not like experienced fully with waterless washing, because I always a pressure washer guy, I think waterless washing in general changed the industry overnight, because now it gave a lot of people some things. Rupes, obviously, hands down, flex with the forced rotation. But ideally, I think the biggest change that I see now versus then is now detailers are becoming entrepreneurs instead of detailers.
Amen.
I think that's the biggest change currently. It says volumes for guys like yourself, Renny. You know, I like to call you the older generation, even though you guys aren't older. I feel like I fit in that generation where I'm like 5 years behind people. You know what I'm saying? But you know what I'm getting at. There's
no, totally.
Like guys that people don't know about, like Greg Sweet. You know, when you look at Greg,
dude, that dude was making money before anybody was making money.
Yeah, he's an animal. Jim Guggen. Like you don't hear about these guys anymore. And those guys who've paved that way for us now, I feel like I came in at the end of that, and I'm still with the younger generation. Like I'm in that middle class. You know what I'm saying? Like the Todd Helm, me. There's a bunch of us. But when you look at us, I think you guys did a great job paving the way, and I think you guys created a foundation for something that is impeccable, and we can build upon that. Now it's up to us to push forward, to give you guys a break, you know, because I know, Renny, you have to be getting tired with all these years into it. You know what I'm saying? I feel it after 2 years. But
I'm
like,
just getting my energy started.
Yeah, but you know what I'm saying, though? I'm not talking like physically tired or mentally tired. I'm talking you've put a lot of time and effort into doing this.
Oh, yeah.
And paved the way. There soon comes to a point where you've got to stop and just say, hey, listen, it's my life now. I'm done. Like, I'm always going to be here, but I got to turn more focus to my life and my family and my kids. And you know what I'm saying? And for me, I'm at the point where I need to step up to replace people like you. But at the same time, I want to learn from your mistakes as well. Because if I can learn from your mistakes, then I can help others below me learn from my mistakes and your mistakes. You see, and that's how tradition continues.
Absolutely.
And that's what I want to be able to do. And that's what I've been doing.
Here's the thing. I'm going to read down. I'm going to share something with you. My mentors, I wrote them down right now. Art Scholl. A lot of people, if you're in aviation, you know who he is. He's the guy that did all the air-to-air photography in the very first Top Gun. When Goose got killed, Art Scholl got killed in that flash spin maneuver. That was the first guy that brought me into detailing. Was he a mentor? No, he just got this dadless kid. He made me cry several times. He toughened me up, and he showed me how to, not only fly, but to make a buck. Okay. Then it goes down to Bill and Winnie Bartell. Bill and Winnie were contractors. They knew how to take and exchange time for money at a higher rate, but they were still exchanging time for money. Then it comes into Walt Monique. Walt Monique is they taught me how to build a business that you don't fit your life into a business. You fit your business into your life. Yes. Then Vince and Vince, millionaire, billionaire. Okay. Vince is still going. I won't name him because he's a pretty private person, but Vince is 80. He's 30 years older than me, dude. And you guys don't know who he is, but he's changed your life 10 times. And here he is. What he says is that he's the one that taught me, and Vince Smith, I'll say his name. He owned property here. He's a blue collar dude. He bought a lumber yard and a hardware store for under $500,000. He just sold it for millions, the land, millions. And he's still going. And so what you're going to see is in the next decade is your empire. Like, okay, my own father, I didn't know him, growing up. we've got my mom, when she passed away, she challenged me to get to know him. He's 30 years older than me. Dude's 80. He's going to be 87 this year, right? Dude, he's still building empires, you know? And so what you're going to find out is our industry we're infants, is that we are the car wheel industry in 1903. We just figured out we're an industry.
Yeah.
Before we were a side hustle, you know, we were a joke. I hate to say it, we were, but now we're a legitimate freaking industry, and we're going to get into your coatings here in a second. But what's happening now is we've got a lot of people saying, "Oh man, it's a young man's game. It's this and that." You're going to start seeing this first generation. I'm lucky because I look at Barry McGuire. I look at Gordon McCall. These guys, Gordon's just a little bit ahead of me. A lot of people don't know who Gordon McCall is, but he changed detailing for his life 30 years ago, you know? And so I'm watching that. I'm this first generation that's been able to empirize this thing. Does that make sense?
Yep.
I was Rome, you know, 3,000 years ago. And so now all of a sudden what's going to happen is we've got guys like you, women like you, professionals like you that are coming up through that are going to take and even build bigger empires. And they're going to do it easier, sooner, and they're not going to, excuse my French, fuck themselves up, you know, by overworking and killing themselves doing it. They're not going to have 3 divorces. They're not going to have kids, and well, the kids might be in therapy because kids are a little weird right now. But they might, you know, is you're going to do it the right way because there are generations that are doing it, including yours. So it's great points. So did you mentor up when you were coming up through? Did you have somebody in different parts of your life that you could go to and get constructive feedback and let them beat you up?
Yeah, I mean, I really didn't. I really didn't get into mentoring, like being mentored, I think, until I was about 30. You know, I mean, I always got advice from people, always took advice.
Yeah.
But you know, as well as I do, mentoring wasn't really around then. And if it was, it wasn't spoken like it is today. You know.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So yeah, I had friends that gave me advice. David Fermani was a great friend, still is.
Good guy.
The dude's killing it in the game right now. But he taught me how to charge for my detail. You know, I was doing these jobs. He's like, "You're killing the industry. Stop it." I'm like, "What do you mean?" I'm
Ron Harris, guys like that. Ron Harris.
Yeah, you know. But yeah, no, I do. I now I have a lot of mentors. Most of them are not in the detailing industry, only because, you know, like I understand detailing now, you know, I mean, do I need mentors? Yeah, but I want mentors that are going to teach me other things besides detailing a car. Because I don't really detail anymore. I want a mentor that's going to be there when I say, "Hey man, I had a shitty day today. This is what I did. I can't figure it out. Bounce some advice off me." You know, but I'm also very fortunate to have my business partner, Scott Ward, with me as well.
Smart dude.
Scott's a very quiet guy. He's actually funny and very outgoing, but in the public eye, he's quiet. But again, like he's my yin and I'm his yang, if that makes sense. You know?
Yeah, it's called Bob Phillips and I.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Like I like to spend money. Scott is cheap. And he's not frugal, he's cheap. We'll have an argument about that, but he's cheap in my eyes.
I love to spend Bob Phillips money.
Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, so now I have a lot of people that I bounce things off of. Yeah. And what's really unique is I'm in a position where people call me all the time for advice. And I learn from that as well. That's why I encourage it, you know, because it keeps me motivated, it keeps me fresh, but yet I may not have went through the experiences that they went through. So it makes me a little more well-versed, you know, and as you begin to mentor and, you know, be a mentor and mentoring, it's a crazy cycle, but what I found is it's a good cycle, you know, it's not a cycle where I'm doing dumb shit all the time. It's a cycle that just keeps going. I get better. The people around me get better. And eventually what will happen is you'll find that you may become the smartest person in that room with your friends. When that happens, you got to realize you're in the wrong room now. It's time to move on, move up, and that's what I try to do. I try to grow consistently, but it's not financial growth no more with me. It's really not. Like, for me, it's just genuine peace and happiness is what I want in my life. That's it. If you've ever talked to anybody, and everybody has that one person in their life, if you've ever talked to them and you know that they're genuinely happy and they're at peace with life, it's an admirable trait, like, that they have a trait, it's really admirable. And I think when you look at, like, for me, one person I think we can all relate to, who I think has that right now in their life, you look at Michael Avens.
Mm-hmm. Oh, totally. Great
Totally.
example. Yeah.
You look at Bob Phillips as another one,
Yep.
And I don't know Bob like you do, but the guy doesn't age.
Great examples.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Both of those people, when you look at them and you talk to them and you walk away, they don't even have to say nothing, and you can see it, you can feel it, and that's what I want to achieve in my life. It has nothing to do with being on the top, none of that. I want to know when I wake up tomorrow, right here, I feel good.
Right.
Because then the rest is happening.
You know what I found, and I want to get into your now, is that shit's going to happen all the time. You know, people think as you get your success, life's going to get easier. It actually gets more difficult, more complicated. And you got to wake up knowing, man, shit's going to go down today. That I don't even call it bad shit, because it's called life.
Yes.
And you've either got to, and this is really me recentering myself after some bullshit that I let into my life. These people didn't bring it to me. I let it happen, right? Yep. I'm ownership of this shit, but it kind of got me on it knocked me out of my trajectory. Does that make sense?
Yep.
And it's me to write that trajectory and then wake up in the morning. And like this morning when I first wake up, I like waking up slow. Usually I wake up on my own. This was one of the few days the alarm went off at 5:30. Usually I'm already awake, scared the shit out of me, turned it off, and I laid there. And I just meditated. And then I prayed. Two different things. I meditated for a bit. And the one thing I told myself right before my feet hit the ground was, listen, prepare myself for what's going to go right or what's going to go a little astray. And I'll call it wrong, because even wrong things can be righted and be a good learning opportunity. And again, live in the presence. So I love that. And when you have people like Scott around you, and again, Michael, I look at Michael and I look at Bob Phillips, two great examples. And I got to think back, what did their parents do? Because Dave Phillips is the same way. His brother is, that had to be some amazing. Honestly, I don't think I'm going to have that. I'm never going to have that aura around me, because I've got something in my wood pile. I don't think it's going to let me happen. But because there's a little bit of maybe a defense there, maybe a little chip on my shoulder. I've gotten through those things, but whatever they have, they're at another level. But my goal is to give that gift to the people that I can influence. And I think the younger you start turning into Michael or Bob or Dave, is if we can get young people starting to turn into that, it's going to be a life habit that takes them well into life. Yes. I think it's not too late for me to have that. I just don't think my water's got a little more white caps on it. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And so I'm okay with that, because my edginess is what's made me too. Their calmness and their way of life's what's made them. I'm okay with being me, and I'm okay with them influencing my life. I've always told, and I need to tell Bob Phillips and Dave this, I haven't been around them as close as I am with their kids quite as much as I have been with Michael and his kids, because they're in the industry. His children, it's a family business. When I'm around Michael, that's the dad I wish I would have been.
Yeah. Hands down. Hands down.
Yeah. Does that make sense to you when I say that?
Yep. Yeah. Yeah. And, I think a lot of it portrays to Michael's success too, as a person and an individual. But in general, that's what I seek today. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I see
Yeah.
humility, you know, but
Yeah.
at the same time, I want to be confident. I want
Right.
to be happy. I want to see others succeed. And to be able to be in the position where I'm in today, to be able to do those things it's a blessing, man. And that's only like a tenth of my life at the moment right now, to give you an
Right.
idea.
You know what's funny is, okay, like, I don't know what it is about software guys. Jody, from Road FS.
Yep.
He's another guy. Rod. Now, Rod and I are a little closer. We got white caps. He's more like us.
Mm-hmm.
He's a little more edgy, but he's smooth white caps. He can go into, not that Bob, Michael, or Dave can't go into white water and handle it okay. They could. But I think that there's people that are a little more accustomed to being in the rough water.
Yep.
We've kind of grown up there. We like being a little bit 1 foot into the flames. Some people like to fucking watch the world burn, and they're constantly fucking starting shit. And I don't want any fucking part of that, right?
No.
And I feel sorry for those people. I really believe in triggers, and so when I start thinking negative these days, I think glass half full, man. I got a good life.
Yeah.
And I got to say now is if you keep me awake one night, you're out of my life, dude. If you're not blood related or somebody that I say I love you to, you can't keep me awake at night.
Yeah.
I value my sleep.
Just get rid of it. Throw the trash aside.
Yeah, you can't.
Yeah.
So hey, take this to modern day. So you sell your company, and all of a sudden we start seeing this SB3 thing pop up.
A little bit.
You've done, and here's the thing: is we've got competing products and companies. Dude, I love seeing your success because we're all making it happen, and we've got different audiences within the same audience. So where the hell did SB3 come from? How was that journey, and where are you guys going? And tell us, what is it? Some people might not know about it, if you're living under a rock.
So the first thing I want to settle is SB3. What is it? We started with 3 products. That's where the 3 came from. Scott, Barry, and 3 products. Today, it's Scott, Barry. We have a global team now. We have literally 10 trainers in the U.S. 2 of them are getting announced next weekend. One of them that's getting announced is a Mafia guy. Bet you didn't know that.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
probably do.
Yeah. So it's a good thing. Great guy. I know he's educated, and I know he's good at what he does. He has to be. If not, I'm going to come back on you. But no, in all seriousness.
Yeah.
I can't explain it, man. I can't, because I did this as a part-time thing. SB3 was a part-time gig just to be able to serve the industry a little bit and give some back, and we did it. Hope we can make a couple bucks. Today, I think we made a huge impact on the industry. Not just so much by saying we're a big company, but I think it's the way that we carry ourselves, we present ourselves. And I really, with everyone on our team, I really try to encourage professionalism. And I want them to know that the things I do represent them. The things they do represent all of us, and we need to be better as a team. And so much, in fact, that next weekend, I have all 10 of our trainers. We're going to Orlando next weekend because my one of my hurdles was that I got feedback was every one of our trainings that we do, people are happy, but you hear one person saying one thing, one person doing another thing from different trainers. So I brought all the trainers into Florida next weekend. We're staying in a house together. We're going to eat together, live together, and we're going to develop a training regimen that is equal everywhere in the United States that we could take further, and it has to be done. Those are the things in business, so we did that. But in general, I don't know. I can't explain it, man. I've been blessed. SB3 has allowed me to live my purpose, to give back to the industry.
That's cool.
That's
cool.
That to me is why SB3 exists today. Yes, Scott, he made something different, but in general, it gives me a chance to give back and share my knowledge. That's it, man.
And make a living.
Yeah.
And make a living.
Yeah.
And doing what you love.
Yeah.
Here's the other thing. I think that it gives hope to where, this journey that you went on, the journey I went on. I think a lot of people they get. Harry was talking about this. We had a guy come to a one-day training. Okay, one-day training. 3 days later, he's giving certificates out that he's a new trainer now. Again, your rungs. Yeah, exactly. Is that the ladder you climb? Guys, we don't mean to shoot your dream down, but you just got to be. You need to drink some reality Kool-Aid.
Yeah.
On what it took to get here.
Yeah.
So, but I think that what you've done and what I did is teaming up with, you team up with Scott. I teamed up with the Phillips brothers.
Yep.
Is that it shows other people it's doable, but it's a 1%er. So you got to do the things to turn yourself into a 1%er. You don't do those things, it ain't going to happen. And your first thing is you go from a 90%er to a 1%er in 5 years. It ain't going to happen.
No,
Could happen in 10 years.
No.
Could happen in 10 years.
And and that's tough. I have so much going on right now. Even with me though, I'm the type of person, I'd rather be a man amongst men than the man. You know what I mean? Realistically, it's hard to explain, but I just want, I want to better the industry in general. That's it. But with that said, things need paid for. Bills, people have no idea what it costs just to go host an IDA training, like a CDSV, because we don't get paid for this. And I've traveled the country doing these now. The money comes from somewhere. Luckily, SB3 is in a position to help pay for some of those things and even sponsor some things like that. But at the same time, that's where it comes from, and I wouldn't be here today if it wasn't for Scott. Scott was actually my first employee I ever hired full time. And today we're business partners. None of this would exist. And that's the thing people don't realize is they see me doing all these things, but it's not me. You know what I'm saying? I'm the one executing, but I have Scott doing stuff. I've got other people doing stuff. What I learned to do was build a team around me that are good at what I'm not. And that's
something they use a term in the military uses, a force multiplier.
Yep. Yeah. And another thing I'm working on is time blocking. I don't know if you know what time blocking is. But for me, I've been working on that, and that's helped me because I have a little bit of ADHD too. I'm all twisted up sometimes, but the time blocking is really allowing me to gear my focus to one thing and then the next and then the next and then the next.
I'm going to share something that I was on the show Undercover Billionaire.
Yep.
Okay. That guy, freaking amazing. A lot of entrepreneurs we've got ADD, ADHD, all these different challenges, right? We got it.
Yeah.
Who cares? Here's what he taught me. He has 16 alarms set throughout the day for his time blocking. Every alarm going off has got a different title. Yeah. So I'm watching him. We got in a lot of trouble in the set. We got thrown off the set like 3 times. This guy was so much fun, and we filmed it. We filmed it in Erie, Pennsylvania, and it was but 16 alarms, dude.
Yep.
So guess what? I've probably got 12 alarms that go off today. Some of them for the most simple thing in the world, but it's time management, and it's so important that you listen. There's a couple things you can't get back: time that you've spent and a word that's been said.
Yep.
There's a couple things that you can't get back, right? And so you've got to watch your words carefully, and you got to watch your time carefully.
Yeah.
And so, Chris, I'm going to ask him one more question. I just texted you 3 pictures. Okay. So I'm going to ask him. I want you to bring those up on the screen after this next question. So, hey, what's next for you? I got one more question after this, but Chris is going to pull that up. What's next? Where are you going? Can you share it?
I got a couple things actually. I found obviously people know I like watches. I started with an SB3 watch for all of our guys. I actually got one for you coming soon too, Renny.
I was going to say,
Yeah.
You know,
But so I opened a watch company to go to the Masonic people. And then I got approached about 2 weeks ago with a pretty big deal. I had a tool manufacturer reach out to me. And when I say a tool manufacturer, I'm not talking a little company. I'm talking a very, very large company. Reached out and said, hey, we're coming to the detail industry. We want to give you a piece. And basically, I have full build, full design, full build out. They're bringing literally a factory here. Everything's going to be made here, produced here, done here. I'm going to be the guy behind the scenes. I do have some ownership in the company. I won't lie. Not all of it, but it was enough that I know I get paid for my time. But with that said, we're going to come hard by the end of this year with a whole new line of polishers that could wake up the industry, I think. Not just polishers, we're talking lights, pressure washers, the whole 9 yards. So I do have that coming. That's in the works now, which will be pretty big. You'll see some stuff at SEMA. I have, obviously, we'll be at SEMA this year. We kind of pulled out of Southern Detailers Conference. I hate to say that. It just wasn't there this year. It sucks. But
I'm not going either.
Yeah.
I just got to prioritize.
Yeah, you know, my time needs to go elsewhere. The money needs to go elsewhere. So we're going to go pretty big at SEMA this year, bigger than last year. If you were there, we're hoping to get a center floor spot if that allows. Other than that, man, I'm pretty content. You know, I'm going to push hard with SB3. I sent you an email, by the way, which you should open if you already didn't. You know,
no, I saw it. I'm just this. As soon as we're done with this 5-day, I'll get on it.
Yeah,
I got it.
And I know how it is. But I think you and I might have something big coming up, possibly. You know, in the next year if we do it right. But yeah, that's it, man. We're getting ready to add a new compound SB3. We're going to change one of our coatings over to make it a little bit easier here in the next couple weeks. But again, we're growing, just having fun, try to do the right thing. And Freemasonry. I just became Eminent Commander, Affirmative Commander number 24 in Lebanon, Pennsylvania.
Cool.
So
congrats.
I get to run that for a year. That's a big deal. That finishes out something pretty big, and you know, hopefully the future looks good for me in life, masonry. Yeah, been married, I think 17 years. 17 years I've been married.
So you mentioned earlier horses and veterans. Okay.
Yep.
So Chris, you got those pictures? So
I sure do. Hold on a second.
Gina, we all took these guys out to meet our horses yesterday.
Awesome.
My horse is really shy. So Gina got a kiss from Rip last night. He just loves and here's a cool thing is Chris gave me a book called Think Like a Horse, and I've seen it. Is, you know, horses, they're subject to attack. They don't, you know, they're constantly waiting for something to jump on their back. They've got a really good sense of danger, and they got a really good sense of people. And so if you see a horse back away, sometimes just they'll back away. Diane's horse doesn't like anybody. But Rip instantly with Gina was on her like you wouldn't believe. He came up, the first picture, he came up and sniffed her. The second one, he came up and he kind of touched her. And the third one, he's sitting here giving her kisses on the head.
It's awesome.
Is, you know, and the reason why I mention this is that, you know, you talked about it, but, you know, your therapy is that all you do, and I want to, I don't care if you're 50 or 5 and you're going into business, this is an exploratory hug. He wanted to see if she was going to be okay with him giving her a kiss. And, you know, that was exploratory, but you've got to have an escape. And the older you get, every decade that goes by, learn something new. Don't be stale in doing what you know. I hadn't ridden in 30 years. That's an almost 1,400-pound horse. I was terrified. It's changed my life. I mean, between, you know, my wife, my kids, my dogs, and my horse, it's just so therapeutic to have him, and the connection's unbelievable. And so it doesn't have to be a horse. It can be anything. But I say have soul purpose. What's that mean? Is connect with souls, people, animals, whatever it is. Last question is one piece of advice you want to leave somebody today. Simple piece of advice. What would it be?
Wow, I hate these. And I think I hate these.
I do. I got you there.
One simple, you know what? I'm just going to say be yourself, man. You
There you
know,
go. Good piece of advice.
be yourself. I think when there's all kinds of advice thrown out there in the world, blah, 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 every motivational speech you can find, just hop on Facebook or Instagram, read something, you'll feel better. But in the end, I think too many people are trying to keep up with the Joneses. That analogy, and I was one of those people as well. But I've learned just to be myself. I found people like me better than the guy that was keeping up with the Joneses,
Heck yeah.
And that's it.
More authentic.
And believe in yourself. Believe in yourself.
Yeah. And celebrate your little victories.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people that celebrate their little victories.
I celebrate every little victory. I'm happy, So if you can just be yourself, and be proud of who you are and understand who you are, I think the rest will follow, And that's not always the easiest, being yourself.
No.
So sometimes it shows. I gotta say to myself, do you know what? I'll be back. I need 5 minutes. And I take those 5 minutes and I disappear, like leave me alone type deal. But then, another victory that I had personally was this year, well, I guess, January at Mobile Tech. I had a life-changing moment at Mobile Tech this year. And it was, the award was huge. But all these years, Renny, and you know this, going to shows, trade shows, you see these booths and they're filled and people are happy and everything's working. You know what it takes to go to a trade show and to actually have something fully work the way you want it to work. I was 10 minutes late like normal getting into the show. And I had bags with me. I had a bunch of stuff at Mobile Tech. And we finally got our first booth with a closet last year at Mobile Tech. Every year we're learning little things, Closet's important. I've learned that. But we finally got our first closet and had all this crap. And I wanted to get through my booth to the closet. And I'm talking 10 minutes into the show at Mobile Tech this year, the first day. Our booth was so packed.
It's awesome.
I could not walk into my own booth. There was not an avenue, a channel, nothing to get in. And as I walked up, I was tired. I was running late. I was frustrated because of myself that I was running late. And I got there and I sat back for a moment and I seen a presence of people smiling, people happy. Everybody was in the booth and it was just like, this is it, man. Like this ain't the $1 million that I dreamed of. This ain't the high-end car that I dreamed of. This ain't the lifestyle that I dreamed of. But this is home. And I got a packed house full of people that love each other around me. That's when I sat back and I thought, son of a bitch, I finally made it.
There you go.
You know what I'm saying? Like that felt good to say that I made it. And that we, as a team, I shouldn't say I, because it's not me. SB3 is bigger than Barry E Theal. Like I see this here. It says Renny Doyle Podcast with SB3's Barry E Theal. It should say Renny Doyle Podcast with a huge team of people that help Barry E Theal.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? You know how it is, man.
Oh, yeah.
Like, where would you be without Chris?
Oh yeah. Where would I be without anybody?
Yeah.
I mean, there's 150 people.
Yeah.
Without the mafia, without the Phil, I can go through it 100. It's exact, and your culture is so important that you recognize that.
Yeah.
And the people, and so.
Huge.
Barry, I want to take. How do people reach out and how do they find you? How do they get in touch with you?
Honestly, if the best way now is to reach me out through email, Barry@sb3coating.com. I'm really
Cool.
trying to prioritize certain avenues of social media now and trying to let go of some of the other channels of social media. You know what I'm going through, Renny. I'll let it at that.
Yep.
But yeah, that and my phone number, 717-875-8686. I'd rather have you call me, man. I could talk for 2 minutes and we'll kill a 20-minute text conversation. You know,
Right. There you go.
Before we go, I did want to say one thing. I know Oscar's there with you. And if I've seen recently, Oscar got his RIT, right? With the IDA, he got something pretty big with the IDA.
About to be.
Huh?
About to be.
Yeah. And I wanted to congratulate him on that, you know?
Right on.
Because he did Oscar certified.
He's making waves.
Yeah,
he's making waves.
Oscar made sure I was skills validated to make sure I knew what I was doing. So I wanted to thank him for, and good luck to your class, man.
I was more nervous than you were.
But
hey, Barry, we want to thank you for coming on, man. And
thanks, guys.
we got to recognize right now some things that have gone on. We want to thank PNS Double Black for backing us up, the show. Also, share it, man. You got to, if you like it, share it. Go out and tell somebody about the show of One Piece. We love to take and hear. In the last couple of shows, I got so many messages on Instagram and Facebook about something we said. I love hearing that stuff, man. That it's impacted your life. Absolutely love it.
Yeah.
In the meantime, pay some bills. Go out. 2 weeks ago, Double Black introduced new Defender SiO2 spray. It's incredible. We did Swift, incredible. Stand by in July. We're gonna have something that we've been working with for 2 years that I've teamed up with somebody really special. So in July, we've got big news. Summer, this year, we've got something really big. Our empire's growing a little bit. So a lot of cool shit going on in the industry. Barry, it's good to watch you grow, dude. I'm proud of you.
Thank you, guys.
And hey, everybody go check them out online. And again, live healthy, be happy detailing all. We'll see you next time, guys.
Thanks, Barry.
Thank you. Appreciate you guys both.